America was a slave-owning country long before they became a free land, and the legacy of slavery haunt us still. This is a story of resistance and struggle of maintaining human dignity. It is a story of demanded freedom told through the life of enslaved people. And this is a story of founding fathers you never knew.
Slavery was no sideshow in American history, it was the main event.
We've made certain progress in race relations, but we'll never get further until we look more closely at slavery.
It was all began in 1619 when the first cargo ship arrived at Virginia and New Amsterdam, the place now called New York. The slaves were not all Negroes from African continent. Many of them were European as well. The Portuguese and Netherlands were part of the examples. This is the beginning of the slave trading in America. They were all owned by the Dutch West India Company on the basis to get free labor. The injustice treatment started as early as the time they were shipped. They were all caged and locked down. Some of them were even thrown out to the sea during the shipment. Many of them were dead because of disaster and surrounding. And as soon as they arrived to the new land, they were branded and labeled like animals. The settlement of the slave community focuses on the part of Southern America. They were forced to work on tobacco, cotton, corn, and coffee farms to generate wealth for the company.
Needed to provide a profit. In the Chesapeake Bay, Virginia, Maryland, the more tobacco you could plant, the more profits you could reap, the more pleased the investors back in England would be. And there is tremendous pressure for labor.
All of them were oppressed and threatened to work all day long. Foods and drink were inadequate. Some would even have to drink from natural resources to stay alive. No wages were given, no entertainment, no proper life. They had to develop lives on their own. Laws were established to obstruct any resistance. Any threat of revolution and uprising movement were treated with severe punishment and penalties. And many were subjected to death. They were burned, killed, tortured, whipped, and hanged by the company and landowners. One important event marked by history is runaway. As the result of ill treatment by the company, some slaves decided to run. Blacks and white slaves marked their way to the north of America as no laws of slavery were established and applied there. Their destination is north of America, where there is no slavery waiting for them there. But in the end, there was no place to run or hide. Soon enough, they will be captured again. And this time, the punishment is severe. For the accusation of runaway, these two, one black and one white, are judged in court. For the white slave, his punishment is simply a number of years added to his account of service. But for the black, his punishment is infinitely worse, the servitude of life. Because they are slave, their born child is also a slave, belong to the company. Because they are company properties, the company have the right to trade and sell these children accordingly. The children were all taken to be sold. Some were traded to other places, and some were added as indentures for long years.
These people were thought of as goods, as cargo. And in the language of the slave trader, this was a place where goods were held until they could reach full market value.
The history of the auction began throughout years of discrimination to them. The new era slaves were auctioned and sold to the wealthy persons as slaves for life. The most valuable slaves were men below 18 years old, followed by women under 18. This essence of racism and injustice continued for about 19 years and stopped after the banning of slave shipment from the US Congress date on 1808.
The humble petition of many slaves. We shall never be able to possess and enjoy anything, not even life itself, but in a manner as the beasts that perish. We have no property. We have no city, no country. Signed, Felix.
3 months later, another petition was written and signed by 4 enslaved men: Peter Bestus, Sambo Freeman, Chester Joy, and Felix Holbrook.
We expect great things from men who have made such a noble stand against the designs of their fellow men to enslave them.
The petitioners demanded answers.
How is it that you can talk about liberty as a fundamental right of human beings when in fact you keep us as slaves? How is it that you treat us as beasts when we are human beings? More than that, they say, how can you call yourself a Christian people